Hello, everyone. This is Robert Cooper, and I want to get my thoughts on a couple things. And all you distractors that want to harass me and just say crap about my stuff, you don't have to listen to this. You can just go back and do what you do. So we live in the reality of 1984, and it was never supposed to be like this. That book was not supposed to be an operation manual. But this didn't happen overnight. This started most likely long before JFK was assassinated by our government or a foreign government who possibly had control of certain CIA agents. Who knows? I watched tapes of the Warren Commission, and I even read some of they had a complete encyclopedia of the Warren Commission. And I once got that and read some of it. And you could just tell by the reading of it was just total crap, lies. But we've had a lot of lies from these immoral wars, even the one we have now, that does nothing to help our situation over here in America. If anything, it makes it worse. But that's for another story, a long discussion in the future. But my focus is on flock safety and how they're using these cameras. And this didn't happen overnight. It really got, I guess, bad around 2001 when they passed the Patriot Act and they did the bombing of the towers and all that. But I hope it ain't triggering anyone. But that's for another discussion too, if anyone wants to do that. I'm not your average person. Instead of having a family, I did things with, well, let's just say 3-letter agencies. And if anyone wants to talk about that sometime, I can do that too. But 1984 is where we're at. And it's not going to be easy to get back where we need to be. And I don't want to see a 1776, Revolution 2.0. I'm an old guy. I don't think a lot will happen in my lifetime anyways. But this surveillance, this mass surveillance that they have going right now, and it's not only Flock, it's Motorola and it's Axon and a couple others. But Flock safety is the one that seems to be the one that's most common and truthfully the most evil. I mean, the CEO gets on CBS national news and says that D-Flock supporters are terrorists worse than Antifa. Antifa are murderous, internationally recognized terrorists. They hurt people really bad. And it's a shame that those ill-advised comments by the Flock CEO, Garrett Langley, the guy's a moron in charge. And that's the dangerous part, because people like him and other people that we know of, I'm not going to mention names, but have power and billions of dollars, they go off in the deep end and they just think they could do anything they want to. They get venture capital, I call them vulture capital money, as investment. Flock's getting ready to go to an IPO to give even more money to do more evil things, obviously, I'm sure. Maybe, some people don't feel that way, but that's the way I feel it. So where is this all at? How did we get here? I'll tell you how we got here. There was an organization that has $300 billion in assets, and they have people all over the country. I'm not going to mention names. You can guess and you can figure it out yourself, and I'll go from there how you feel about it. But this organization planted all these people in these places. They took over these small towns. They influenced the players in the big towns, and they threw money at it. I don't know if they threw their money at it. It was probably the globalist money. These people have been doing some things like this for a while. So you have 5,000, even Flock Safety will say they have 5,000 entities, cities, counties, state. That's just that part. That doesn't even include the Lowe's and Home Depot, which I'll be boycotting the rest of my life. 5,000 entities, and approximately my own numbers and calculations, about 25,000 officials in these 5,000 cities, counties, and state agencies. With 5,000 of those being police, sheriff, and the captain of the state troopers. Maybe the Texas Rangers are not involved with this. I don't know. So you got 5,000 entities, government entities, 20,000 elected local officials at city councils, county boards, commissioners, and 5,000 chief of police. And this all happened over a short period of time. It didn't wrap up to probably about 10 months ago. It went hyper 10 months ago, and that's why we have, in part anyways, why we have the urgencies to have all these data centers. It's this mass amount of data that they want to do. Well, I'm here to tell you, I covered it in a previous video, these last three U.S. Supreme Court rulings, specifically the Chartres versus the United States, Flock's not going to get away with this. And you can see it. You can see because they are panicking with all these police chiefs who are doing all these videos, saying like, I want to assure you that everything's fine at City Hall and we're not doing anything illegal. But, when you look at how many cops that they're busting and, I think they're setting up and arresting them and firing them, that's all a psyop. That's just to try to do damage control and make it seem like they're, purging out the bad cops. And that's the farthest from the truth. They're not. One bad apple is going to be there no matter what. And I'm not saying it's not the police chief. It usually generally isn't. There's a bad apple there. And that's one bad apple too much. And what they're doing, as far as I'm concerned, is a psyop. Don't believe it. It's all bull. And how can I say that? Well, see what the CEO of Flock Safety's done. He says that they don't sell data. That the data that they get from your city or county or your state, they do not sell it. Well, he's correct. They don't sell the data. What they do on an individual basis anyways, they don't sell a picture or an image or a description for, say, a certain vehicle that goes past 5 cameras, whatever. They don't sell it like that. What they do is they sell subscriptions, right? In your state, in your region, in your country, and out of your country. MI6, IDF out of Israel, and who knows who else has access to this information. Because they're law enforcement. There's nothing to stop them, and that's the truth. So what they do is they sell subscriptions. And they don't sell just one, like one picture, 2 picture, or 1,000 pictures. They give them everything. Everything on everyone is being siphoned off right now by foreign governments and agencies outside you. So if you have someone that doesn't like you and they're well connected, they can get another entity out of the state, so it's harder to track, and burn you using Flock AI. And that's for the whole story about the intricacies, how that is all working, how they're doing it. That's for a whole different story. So 1984, what do we do about it? Well, we've seen all these people, taking all these cameras down. I don't want to see that personally because people go to jail. They're just wasting your lives. You got people, a 19-year-old guy that, that took out a couple cameras and they're going to charge him with 2 felonies and they're going to put him in jail for 30 years. It gets to the point though, when taking out 6 cameras and you go to jail for 7 years, or you can beat the crap out of a bad politician, not me, I wouldn't do that. I would never do something like that. But people are going to think like that. Well, I'm not going to go take out 6 cameras. I'm going to go take out 6 politicians, which is dumb. But that's where we're going with this. I think they actually want a 1776. Why? Well, because then they can actually justify more money for more cameras, then we'll have roadblocks and we'll have who knows whatever. So I personally say right now, for the record, I don't believe in any violence at all. Do not touch these cameras. Do nothing like that. Now, if you want to go stand in front of these cameras with the signs and block them, hey, more power to you. I think everyone should be doing that. I think this should be once, 1 month, 1 day in a month, 1 day every month that everyone goes out and puts a sign throughout their communities in front of these cameras, and don't touch the camera. These are privately owned cameras. That data is sent to private data centers, and they do not own, that private company, Flock or Motorola or Axon, they do not own the airspace between that camera. These are not safety devices. These are not red light cameras. These are not traffic light control systems. They are not railroad control systems. They are piece of crap spy cameras. They do not own now you can't go on private property if you do this. You have to be on public property. And who says? You can be 4 or 5 feet from it. They don't own the airspace. It's going to be hard pressed for the police to do anything about this. They can harass you and, get you probably for obstruction, but all they're going to do is just piss off more people. And I really do think that that's exactly what's going on here. That's why they're doing damage control. That's why they're saying we're taking care of the corrupt cops in City Hall, when in reality they're not arresting the real criminals, which are the elected officials who approved these cameras in the first place. These SOBs down at City Hall, these counselors and these board of commissioners at the county level, and some of them at the state level, and the sheriff's department, and some of those, whoever has the contracts. These are the evil people who approve these contracts, not the police. I have nothing against the police. I don't think any of those police, even if they're abusing the system, should have anything to. Why would you fire and charge people with criminal charges, those police officers, those sheriffs, whatever, the deputy sheriffs? Why would you do that when the system itself is illegal? Does that even make sense? I don't think so. I'll continue this on with another video because this is going to be too long. I just get kind of ramped up. But I'll do a video of who I am and why I'm pushing this. Because there needs to be one person in every state that's doing this. And there needs to be one person in every county that's doing this too. I know what to do. I know exactly what to do, how to stop a flock. But I can't do it by myself. We need 1,000 people. And here's the end game. We need 1,000 people who are willing to sign a Department of Justice civil rights complaint, right? Criminal complaint against 25,000 officials who approve these cameras to do what? To illegally, under the color of law, deprivation of rights, to subvert the Fourth Amendment constitutional rights because they thought that they could store the data on a third-party corporation platform, and they didn't count on the June 29th, 2026 U.S. Supreme Court ruling and Chattery that says that doesn't work anymore. That's a Fourth Amendment violation, because that's where we're at. We're somewhere between 1984 and 1776. The Supreme Court gave us a gift, but they also gave Flock a gift too, because had they put the word flock in the ruling, there would be 100,000 lawsuits right now, and that company would be bankrupt in 2 weeks. I'll talk to you later.